Welcome back to another episode of Refine the Mind, and in this episode I'm going to be doing something that I don't do often, which is talking about gear, and in particular I'm going to be talking about this guy, the Dicapac, which is a underwater housing for your camera. And I used this in November 2020 to shoot a dance video at the beach. So you can watch the rest of that video on this YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description below. So basically, I actually had this Dicapac. This is actually a Korean brand, you know, my people, just gonna take credit for that. And it actually is pronounced Dicapac. Originally when I got my hands on this was very early 2020. And the original plan was to take this to the Philippines with Kurt and do a little mind study trip there and film some documentaries, some lifestyle videos. COVID hit really hard in March and all these countries and cities were going into strict lockdowns. And then in Victoria, again, we had one of the longest and most hectic lockdowns in the world. And, you know, we're just in this state of despair and sadness and not wanting to do anything. And so I had this laying around and I just never really touched it and never used it until finally, towards the end of the year, we had the chance to go out and actually film some stuff. And so I joined with a good friend Nam, who is a great dance photographer, definitely check him out, and friend Don, who is an amazing dancer as well. And we decided to go to the beach and shoot some ocean, sea related videos and photos. The other thing that happened on that day was it was meant to be really warm and calm and generally just a very nice day. Melbourne's known for having sudden days where we have 4 seasons in one day, and what happened on the day of this shoot was once it hit around sunset, which is when I wanted to shoot the video, it suddenly became extremely cold and extremely windy. Instead of taking about 2 to 3 hours to shoot lots of different angles and different concepts and different types of transitions and doing more intentional movements, it turned into a 10-minute shoot with about 3 takes at the max because it was just so unbearably cold. Huge thank you to Don, who went into the water with me when it was absolutely freezing and the wind was just making it worse and just pelting us. It did make it harder to shoot as well, but anyways, I don't know why I've been holding this the whole time. I'm just gonna put this down. Okay, cool. But anyways, let's get into the actual gear itself. So I'm gonna have to pick this back up again. Jeez, that's a really dusty. I'm gonna just wipe this down real quick. Take care of your equipment, guys, and it will take care of you. I think the Dicapac is very well priced. It's basically about 100 Australian dollars for this particular model. This is the, I believe, the mid-size or mirrorless range, and this just fits the GH5 with a Metabone speed booster. So if your camera is roughly the same size as the GH5 or smaller, it will definitely fit into this case. Anything bigger, you'll have to get a bigger model of this. This one's the WP S5 model, and I think there's like an S3 and an S10. So straight off the bat, what you get inside the box is basically the case and also the neck strap, which, you know, comes with these nice little buckles which you can just clip into these bits just here. So there's these little foam cutouts that you can see inside. I only have one in here because that's how I want to adjust my camera, but basically it comes with multiple of these foam cutouts inside that you can stack and layer depending on how big or tall your camera is and how you want to just adjust the lens height as well so that it fits nicely into the barrel of the housing too. Oops, just knocked my mic there. So simple but elegant solution, it works really well. So 100 Australian dollars for something like this, I feel like is very reasonable, especially for what it can do. So yeah, that's pretty much what comes out of the box, very nice and simple. And let's move on into what this thing can actually do. So the first thing that I want to talk about with this, because it's probably the thing that kind of stuck to me the most, is its little, I don't know what they're really called, but I just call them finger pouches. I don't know if you can see in the camera there. Can you see that? Wait, actually, if I screw this lens cap off. There you go. there are like these little pockets where you can stick your finger in to adjust the lens, the focus and stuff like that, as well as the back of the camera as well. There's like this little mini pocket here so you can put your finger in and move any dials. While in theory it sounds like a great idea, the execution of it personally for me didn't quite work too well. The back one does function quite decently in terms of like switching the camera on and off and like turning the dials and stuff like that. But the biggest problem I found was with actually the two finger pouches at the front to adjust the focus of the lens. With the meta bones attached to the camera, this adapter, it does add an extra length to the front of the camera as well as the lens. So what this actually did was it misaligned where the finger pouches were in terms of where the focus ring was. So I'm having to reach a little bit more forward with my fingers to grab the focus ring, which is obviously a little bit more uncomfortable. The other thing is there's this texture on the tips of these finger pouches, which is meant to make it more grippy. But no matter what focus ring I was touching, I just could not get a firm enough grip on the lens unless I was squeezing really hard. And even then, it still didn't feel quite as grippy as I thought it would. So I found that quite inhibiting in terms of adjusting and changing focus while I'm filming. So going in from a wide shot, going into a close-up shot, it was really hard to change focus. So what I decided to do was just to keep the focus at one certain range and not get too close or too far. And also I shot at a higher f-stop so that I have more depth of field to work with rather having a really shallow depth of field. So going back to the main pouch again, I really like that there's this big back window. You can see everything that's happening inside the housing. You have a very nice good view of your screen as well when you have it tilted around. And you can see all your settings and all that type of stuff, which is great. I will say the one thing, and you can kind of see it happening right here, you can see that glare. So I noticed that when I am filming with this or shooting with this and any type of stronger light hits the back of this, there is a lot of glare that happens and I can't see what's happening on the screen or my settings. And so that's probably one of the downsides to the back window, but it kind of does make sense considering the material that they used as well as like the purpose of it. But yeah, that is something that I noticed that can impede on the shooting. And so there are times where I'm a little bit blind because of any light that's hitting it. Luckily when I shot the video, the sunset was not behind me, it was in front of me, so I didn't get any glare. But earlier on in the day when I was testing it out, I did notice that the glare did make it a bit harder at certain times and certain angles to get the shots that I wanted. So at the front here, there's this detachable front window. So that way, if you want to switch your lenses, you can screw this off and then change your lens, take it out and switch it that way. So that's really convenient. In terms of how well this is built, it is made of some sort of plastic and you can kind of hear it as well. And when I look at this front lens part as well, I kind of thought, oh, like, I'm not too sure. But when you take a closer look at it, you can see that the engineering is quite well done. The shaping of it, the grooves, everything is very precise. Same goes for the sealing for the front lens. I did say it feels a bit plastic, but when you do hold it in your hand very firmly, it does feel very rugged. And again, in terms of how precise that they made this, when you do screw this thing back on nice and tight, it feels really, really secure. Like it doesn't feel like it's ever gonna detach, come off, or get loosened and water's gonna seep in. So onto the locking mechanism. This is kind of like, if you think about it, a glorified Ziploc bag, because the main thing that's really keeping this sealed is actually basically a Ziploc. Originally I thought there was like 2 Ziplocs or 3, but it's actually just one. And that kind of concerned me just a little bit, but it turns out to be so much more secure than I originally thought. So the inside of this is actually lined with, and you can kind of hear it now, ASMR. It's actually lined with this sort of silicone, rubbery, sticky material, and that helps to, when you flatten this, it helps to seal that top layer as well as the Ziploc. So you're gonna hear all this like sticky noise. So you flatten the top bit, close the Ziploc section, you close that off. As you can see here, there's like these Velcro strips on the front and the back. And you get the top here, you fold it down, and you roll it. And you got that Velcro strip there and down here, and you put that together. This is gonna be very rough, by the way. And then you get this top Velcro, and you strap that down to this bit just here. And so you got this rolled up kind of mechanism going on with the zip lock and the sticky insides and the Velcros. And even then, at that point when I was first using this, I was like, oh man, I'm not sure about this. So I did some tests. I shoved this into the bathtub, put this into the beach water, let it get smacked around by waves. Did that for several minutes to about 10 minutes, and nothing. There was no humidity, no water, nothing inside the case itself. Even on prolonged periods, I did have one moment where I did shove it into the water for about an hour basically. I put it into my sink, filled it up, and then I just put something on top of the case just to hold it underwater. And for a whole hour after that, I took it out and nothing. There's nothing in the case. No leakage. So overall, this thing is very reliable. I honestly don't feel scared to have my camera inside this case in the water. It feels very secure, very safe, and very rugged. The materials that they use for this do feel quite tactile too. So when I'm holding it, I don't feel like I'm holding something that's cheap or gonna fall apart any second. I will say that managing the camera inside the case can be, again, a little bit tedious. The finger pockets at the front to pull focus do feel a little bit clunky. The finger pocket at the back as well to change the dials and settings can also sometimes feel a little bit clunky as well. But honestly, overall, for $100 Australian to get this, where you can take a camera out to the ocean, go for a swim, and get some incredible shots, I mean, it's really, really good. Like, that's a bargain for what you can do. There's some other underwater housing stuff that you can get, which can get extremely costly. I mean, you are paying for that convenience, its usability, the reliability, and all that stuff, which makes it totally worth it. But for an everyday filmmaker, photographer, or just someone who wants to go into the water and shoot something really fun, this is a really good piece of gear. I can't wait to take this out again for another spin. I haven't been able to go out during some better days with better weather to shoot stuff because, again, Melbourne weather just kind of comes and goes and really hits us at awkward times. So that's pretty much it for the Dicapac. If you guys have any extra questions, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. If there's anything I missed, please let me know as well. And if you guys want to DM me or contact me, you can reach me in my socials and again in the comment sections. And that's pretty much it for this episode. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.